privileged to be a part of this team and this family, this country. Ryan has raised some very pertinent questions, particularly drawing our attention to literature and language divide. And that is true of, first I'm responding to this, that is true of not just English language and literature, but as a linguist I can say I have seen through various. Is it okay now? Okay. So, but we have seen this as a linguist. I can bet this is the story all over the world. Whether you're teaching Russian or Spanish or German, literature and language divide is doing more harm than good to the education of language. Anyways, coming back to the topic, this was really intriguing for me. Why do we bring in a word, much abused word of industry into an academic topic and academic discussion? So ELT and industry, it was a bit intriguing initially, but when I thought about it closely, I thought, well, yes, we need to answer certain questions. And these questions are very relevant questions coming from the larger societies, particularly looking at the economic aspect and the other aspect. So we need to address these questions. So for this reason, I have a few facts to share about JNU. In JNU earlier we had a combined center for English and linguistics, and now there are two separate centers. English is separate and linguistics is another center. We used to teach English language as special courses, not as part of any literature courses, as special courses for students coming in groups from, I can make a list of number of countries: China, Korea, Yemen, Vietnam, Laos, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, Indonesia, and a number of other countries. The list can continue. Some of these students, came back for higher studies later in India, and some of these people went back and started teaching English. Some of the professionals who came to us, they left their professions and went back and started teaching English, opened private institutions and started teaching English. So this was like setting up smaller shops, in that country, because that's where the money was. Particularly Koreans and Japanese and Chinese, they went back and they thought, this was really good. And then some of them came back as diplomats to our country later on. We also had ELT courses for groups of teachers of English coming from China and Korea and one more country. And for these teachers, again, coming to India was a great experience, because coming here they realized that their English was not good enough even to buy a few things in the street in India, let alone an English-speaking country. Apart from that, they also learned a few pedagogical skills, like how best to teach and what are the trends and so on and so forth. So they went back, hopefully they went back satisfied, and then setting up, contributing to a larger industry in the respective countries. In addition to this, a few more facts that I would like to point out. In JNU, in the Center for Linguistics now, and earlier the Combined Center for English and Linguistics, we conducted a lot of research in pedagogical theories and practices, learning theories and teaching English language teaching practices. And for this also, I am very proud of the fact that we have had teachers of English coming from all over the world, to do their MPhil and PhD with us, because this is where they think we have an empirical base where we get English language teaching data, and they bring in empirical, data, empirical facts, from their country, and we can share similar kind of experiences and then write their thesis. So in research also, there is a lot of contribution that has been made to ELT as practice, or ELT if you like to call it, theory or an academic discipline. Now, talking about JNU, but this is true of other universities as well. We have had many more groups coming from different countries who prefer to come to India, because in one of the discussions we realized that some of these students and some of these countries, they had a reason, to come to India for English language training and not go to monolingual countries, like to go to English-speaking countries. They said our experiences are similar, in the sense that the teachers of English here, they are handling English in a bilingual, multilingual environment, and they themselves are brought up in that environment where they are exposed to more than two languages right from the beginning. They are able to handle that. As learners, they acquire certain strategies of learning, and as teachers, they are able to impart those strategies, in teaching. So that's why, somewhere it comes to my mind that perhaps we are contributing to this ELT industry in India. It's not really getting ELT industry from outside and establishing here. It is actually becoming an industry here, like what we've been doing here. So once again, in JNU, if I say ELT is an industry, it will be, one of those universities where they will react very sharply to this. That what do you mean by this commercialization and industrialization and so on and so forth, calling it an industry and so on. But I do believe that we are contributing to an academic reason, to an academic cause, and if it becomes an industry, it only shows that it's a much needed activity globally, not just in India. Now, the question is not whether should we or should we not consider this as an industry. The question is what to do and how best to do our academic part. One point that has already been made, and that is the literature and language divide, which is a false divide, and which we, as academics, we need to, to discuss that, talk about it, and crash those, boundaries and so on and so forth. Secondly, bring in the, best use of technology. And because now with the unprecedented advancement in technology, you can't sit back and say we will only do classroom teaching. You can do much more with advancement in technology. So we need to think of ELT as an industry gaining from technology and giving it back to technology. So perhaps these are the few questions that come to my mind, and we will have more questions, maybe from the other speakers and from the audience.